Welcome to Get Booked with Jennifer and Mary. I'm Mary.
I'm Jennifer.
Cool. So today we're going to talk about Black Lives Matter. And we're going to talk about books that are windows, doors, and mirrors. So when we talk about that as librarians, like mirrors are often books that, you can see yourself in them. Windows and doors are possibly books that feature voices that have experiences that you maybe can't relate to because they're not like you. And that's good, because that's how reading these books we create empathy and we make sense of the world around us. Do you want to talk about Own Voices?
Of course. So Own Voices is very important to us because it is representative of the culture that the artists and the writers are talking about. So for Own Voices, we want to read books by Black authors. We want to have books that are illustrated by Black authors, because theirs is the voice that matters in these stories. And we have several of these to share with you today.
Sure. So the first one I'm going to talk about is a graphic novel. I think it's good for middle grade and up. There's 3 volumes to it. It's called March. It's John Lewis's story. So many of you probably know John Lewis as a senator from Georgia. He also got his start in college as in the civil rights movement. So he marched with Dr. King. He was at the lunch counter sit-ins. And this is his story of how all of that happened. It is really amazingly good. A lot of teachers use it in classrooms to study the civil rights movement. Like my brother actually just finished using it this year in his classroom. It's a great story. He's actually coming out with a new one soon that is a graphic novel about running for office.
Nice. I really enjoyed that trilogy. It was great. Very powerful. Alright, so I have some books by Jason Reynolds. This one is his newest. It's called Stamped. It is about racism, anti-racism, and you. It is a remix of the National Book Award winning Stamped from the Beginning. So it's kind of like the younger version of that book. And I had a good fortune of hearing Jason Reynolds talk at a library event over the computers the other day. He is really amazing to hear. He's just very inspiring, very powerful. This book talks about the history of racism, the world's first racist. Just really awesome. I immediately wanted to read it, and of course, sadly, our book is checked out. Not sadly. It's great that the book is checked out, just sadly, because I wanted to take it home and read it. He also wrote The Long Way Down, which, as you can see, has a number of awards on it.
It just won another too, right?
Oh, it did just win another too, so there will be another sticker. It is about a boy in an elevator. His brother was just shot and killed. He has a gun in his pocket, and it's about the trip down the elevator and what he's going to do with that gun. It's a novel in verse, so it's all about poetry. It talks about his brother, it talks about his history, it talks about, all the things that he could do with a gun, and you'll have to read to find out what he actually does.
Alright, so my next book is called Black Mage. It is a graphic novel for middle grade and up. Yukari Mercado, who wrote Sci-Fi, which is another graphic novel we have, calls this, the Black Mage is like if Spike Lee made a Harry Potter manga. It's bold, powerful, it's magical. And that is a good summation. So the main character is a Black Mage who's gotten accepted into the White Mages Academy, which happens to be run by the KKK. So with the help of another kid in class who becomes his ally, he and the ghosts of Harriet Tubman and Frederick Douglass try and steal back John Henry's hammer from the KKK and take away all their power. It's this really bold graphic novel, and it's written by Daniel Barnes and DJ Kirkland in the art, and they're both African American creators. The art style is very reminiscent of manga, and the colors are bold and bright. So when they have these giant magic fights, it's like a huge flash of lasers and stuff. It's really cool.
Ooh,
Oh yeah. So here's one. Boom, whoosh. Yeah. It's really cool. It also kind of made me think about the old 1940s Superman radio play where Superman takes on the KKK. So this isn't far-reaching from comic book history when you get down to it. and it's just like super fun. Who doesn't love wizards?
I don't know. My next book is by Walter Dean Myers. He is a legend in the YA world. This book is called Monster. Again, you can see all the awards it won. It is written as a screenplay, and the main character is on trial as an accessory for murder. So it's about his murder trial and how that all turns out.
Cool. So my next book is Ron Wimberly's Prince of Cats. This was I can't remember if it was an Eisner winner. It was definitely nominated for the Eisner when it came out. It is a remix of Romeo and Juliet. It's from Tybalt's perspective, but the setting, of course, is not Verona. Instead, it's in New York City. They don't really give you a time frame, but it feels like the 1980s. Because of the whole idea of it being like a DJ mixtape, it also kind of has the feel of like a Kurosawa film mixed with like an 80s hip hop video mixed with like other comic book elements. And so you have Shakespeare's verse like woven through like rap lyrics and the text and whatnot, and it's really cool. And like everybody has a samurai sword, and there's like fights on the street. It's like Kurosawa mixed with the Warriors is how someone put it, which is an old like 1970s like cult classic. It's really, really good. It's definitely for the mature reader, so like older teen and up. But yeah, I was really blown away by it when I finally read it.
Alright, my next one is another YA, Dear Martin. Justice is, I'm going to read the back here. Justice is a good kid, an honor student, and on his way to Yale. So why is he the one in handcuffs? Justice and his friend are in a car. The music is really, really loud. There's a white off-duty cop who pulls up beside them, and he's not amused by their music, and things escalate from there. And this book is about Justice writing letters to Martin Luther King Jr. and trying to process all the things that happened and where he is in the world.
Cool. So my next book is the comic book series Black Panther, specifically the reboot from a couple of years ago, written by Ta-Nehisi Coates. It's cool to have a black superhero actually written by a black author, because sometimes that doesn't happen. So this is a pretty cool reboot. So if you've watched the Black Panther film, you can like start this up with volume 1 and just like go right into it. Like you don't need to know anything else about T'Challa except that like, I don't know, he's like the Black Panther and King of Wakanda. Like it's a great entry point for the comic. And we've got like, I think we have all of these up to date and a couple side stories as well too. And they're super, super good if you like want a solid superhero comic. And then what were you gonna say about the middle grade coming out?
There is a middle grade book about his sister that is, I think, out now and will be hitting our shelves soon because we ordered it. It just has to come in yet.
I'm very excited as a Shuri fan myself.
I love her, and I'm real excited to read more about her.
She's smarter than Reed Richards from the Fantastic Four.
She's smarter than everybody.
Well, that's the whole point. Like, Reed Richards is supposed to be the smartest man in the Marvel Universe, so the fact that Shuri's smarter than Reed Richards is pretty awesome. It's cool. Yes.
Alright, my next book is called The Parker Inheritance. Candace is in South Carolina for the summer. She and her mom are cleaning out her grandmother's house. In the attic, she finds a letter. The letter is from a black woman who is talking about a hidden treasure in town. And immediately, Candace and her new friend decide that they're going to hunt this treasure down. And it will magically solve all of their problems. So it's part treasure hunt, part mystery, and there's a dual timeline between Candace's time and the time that the letter was written. The first, and the time that the treasure was hidden, which was during the civil rights time. So there is a lot of story about racism in this, both from the past and kind of what's happening in the present. So very interesting, great middle grade read. Oh, and it's by Barry and Johnson, who also wrote The Great Green Heist, which is one of my favorite heist books.
Which is very good. It's very good. Alright, So my next book is another middle grade graphic novel. This one is Jerry Craft's The New Kid. Jerry Craft is a local Connecticut graphic novelist and a super awesome guy. So this is about 7th grader Jordan Banks. He is leaving his Washington Heights neighborhood public school and going to Riverdale Private Academy. So he's going from being like one of many black kids to like 3 or 4 black kids in his school. So it's kind of a little bit of a culture shock for him, and he's trying to figure out like where do I sit at lunch. There's like a really obnoxious white boy that like might as well, anyway, named Andy that picks on him a lot. And the book does a really good job of explaining what microaggressions are and how they are not cool and white people need to do better. But it does it in a way that is incredibly accessible. So basically, any kid that's a fan of Raina Telgemore books or Svetlana Chomukova, who did like Brave and Crush, will love this book. It has like total middle school hijinks and scenarios that happen, but you also get a lot more out of it than you would expect. So
It was a great read.
we also have a book club set of this book, as well as Dear Martin. So if you're teachers and you want to use this in school, or if you want to do like a summer book club with like the kids in your neighborhood, these are 2 options you can use.
And there's a sequel of that one coming out.
Oh yes, we're very excited for that.
Last Act. Can't wait. This is also a book by Connecticut author Janae Marks. It's from the desk of Zoe Washington. Zoe gets a letter from her father on her birthday. Her father is in prison. She's never met her father. He's been in prison since, I think since before she was born. And apparently he's been writing to her for years, and she's just discovering the letter because she was the first one to get the mail. So they start a correspondence. She gets to learn her father about his life. He says that he's innocent, and she decides that she's going to set out to prove his innocence. Part of that, aside from that, she is a baker, and she wants to enter a kids cooking competition. So she's working a lot to discover and figure out a new cupcake flavor. So there's a lot of baking and a lot of talk about incarceration and innocence and the legal system and how it's different.
Cool. So my next book is another graphic novel series for middle grade and up. I love this book. So Goldie Vance is kind of like, what if you took Nancy Drew and like threw Archie comics and like spun them together in a paint mixer. So while Hope Larson is a white author, the reason why I included this is the illustrator is Brittany Williams, who's African American illustrator, and also used to be an animator for Disney. So she kind of has like, you can kind of see the Disney style a little bit in this. It's a super cool story about Goldie Vance, who is, she wants to grow up and be the house detective for the hotel her dad manages. And something has gone missing, and the hotel detective can't solve the case. So she's like, oh, I got this. So she puts herself, there's like car races and all kinds of stuff. And there's even like, the mean girl whose dad owns the hotel. So it's, like I said, that's where you get like the whole Archie vibe, like the Veronica or the Alexandra from Josie and the Pussycats. So it's super, super fun. We've got like, I think 3 or 4 volumes at the library.
My last book is a fun book because it's also good to read, as they call slice of life or enjoyment books, or just books that aren't as heavy topics as some of these are. Not that they don't have topics in them that are crucial to read about. It's just that they're more a little bit lighthearted. So this one is Truly Madly Royally. If anyone knows me, it's totally on brand because I love a good royal story, and I do love a good romance story, and if they're combined, it's gold.
No way.
So Truly Madly Royally, Zora is enrolled in this prestigious summer program at a college, and she meets this boy who she doesn't know is a prince. They accidentally swap phones, and she learns when his security team comes swarming into her house to retrieve the phone and kind of figure out what happened, which kind of puts her off of the prince, whose name is Owen, But he kind of wears you down a little bit, and they go on some dates, and it's just really a sweet story. Of course, there's a Meghan Markle reference, and it's just really, really sweet. This one is by, I didn't say that, but Debbie Regard.
Okay, so the next one I have is Bingo Love. I think this was also nominated for an Eisner too. I don't remember if it won. So it's by T. Franklin, who I actually met a couple years ago at a Comic-Con, who is awesome. So this story I wanted to highlight because not only are we having a lot of civil unrest in our country right now, but also it's Pride Month in the middle of all this. So this is a Black queer story. And you don't have as many of these as I would like, although we're getting more, particularly in graphic novels. However, so basically this is the story of Hazel Johnson and Mary McCrae, and they fall in love at their church bingo. But the problem is it's 1963, so it doesn't quite work out for them. So this takes place kind of in a flashback, but also present day. It's a little bittersweet, but it's just a really awesome romance type of story that I really, really loved. Like, I remember crying when I finished this. Like, I loved it so much, and I thought about it for like a full week afterwards, which is big because if I love a book, I will continue to think about it, even if I hate it. I didn't hate this book. I love this book, and everybody should read it. But yeah, those are my book picks for right now.
Cool. So if you need a book recommendation with anything, but particularly with Black Lives Matter or Own Voices stories, we are here for that.
Yep.
We're here to help.
Yep. And I'm also going to be working this week on putting up some virtual bookshelves, which we have in our library catalog. You can click on a tab and it's different book displays that we have in there. And we'll be creating some for Black Lives Matter or books to teach anti-racism in history of the Civil Rights Movement. And those will be for adults. We'll probably do some YA and kids too.
Yes, we have a lot of picture books too, so we'll include some of those as well. It's never too early to talk about race.
No, it is not. So thank you, and we will see you next week.
Sounds good. Bye.